It was a team of 45 people. And now it's a team of 2, bordering on profitability.
Initially, we're thinking about things from a gut feeling perspective that I feel that this might work. And we were completely proven wrong after we got data from CX, applied that into our ads and saw how that performed versus the ads that we spent so much time ideating and, spinning up.
In the first 500 customers, I spoke to every single one of them.
Every single one.
Yeah.
What do you get when 2 startup veterans decide to challenge the entire playbook of launching consumer brands in the Middle East? You Got Better, a self-care company built by a team of 2 doing 50,000 in monthly sales, empowered by a deep customer obsession, relentless testing, and just the right amount of AI. In this episode, I sit down with co-founders Walid, Daniel Deeb, and Anver. We talk about how they pivoted right after fundraising, why 60% of their customers were women, even when the brand was made for men, and the exact tactics they used to hit $50,000 in revenue within just 6 months. If you care about product market fit, obsessive customer research, creative distribution, and what it takes to win in the direct-to-consumer space in the Middle East, this one's for you.
What was the most surprising thing that you found in Dubai so far?
Look, I'm used to bureaucracy prior to coming here, and having set up a few companies in Dubai, the speed at which you do it, you want to set up a company that's done, get a bank account, and it's not a sponsored ad to Wio, but Wio, okay, it's super fast. then visas for employees, and you hit the ground running. Like our e-commerce stint was up like this, crazy, super fast.
How much time will it take you?
I would say getting a company was 3 days. I'm not making this up. I think bank another 3 days. Having Shopify ready, we switched from Shopify, but having Shopify ready was
probably roughly 3 to 4 days. Yeah. I would think, just with the initial layout.
The bank just takes a lot of time to get a bank account.
I think it's interesting. So Has and I speak to a lot of other entrepreneurs, and a lot of them complain about certain banks I can't name, but it hasn't been our experience. Even some people complained about their experience opening up Wio. I think it may depend on whether someone is politically exposed, or sometimes certain nationalities and KYCs come into play, or business activities. For us, it's always been very straightforward. Our activity is e-commerce, and the one before in Hala was insurance, so it was pretty straightforward.
Has, what about you? Is it like from personally or professionally? What do you think that you found surprising here in Dubai?
I don't know. So I'm born and raised here. So for me, everything that's happening here feels very natural to me. So I am sort of spoiled in that sense. For me, this convenient banking system feels very normal. And if I go anywhere else and try to do this, I know I might not get this, but Dubai spoils people a lot. And I think that this convenience feels very normal to me. So in that sense, I don't know if I'm surprised by any of these things, but I highly appreciate that. So when I see other countries try to set up similar businesses, they are challenged by a lot of things. But for us, it's super, super fast to get these things set up. So government regulations, banks, I think these are critical things that you can do very quickly here.
And now your new company, Better, what exactly the problem that you guys are solving?
It's interesting. Better started as one thing, fundraised, and immediately pivoted right after that. And we're very public about how we're building it. Better started as a problem that we were super passionate about. It was men's health at the beginning, focusing on intimacy for men, focusing on hair loss, focusing on weight loss. And due to certain issues from a regulatory perspective, even though we managed the cold chain logistics, managed to get all the medications sorted, we had almost had an activity for telehealth from the Dubai Health Authority. Some challenges we came across forced us to pivot. And the very first thing we pivoted was one of our supplement products that we already had as our services. And I'll let kind of Has go ahead from there and explain what it is that Better is today, I suppose.
Yeah, so from that point on, we sort of wanted to figure out how we're going to pivot and what do we pivot to. And I think since we had our initial product, which was the biotin gummies that we're selling right now, that sort of set the base for us to find out what we want to do next. Because we were selling products, we were like built things very quickly. We had a website already selling while the approvals were taking place for the initial idea. And that sort of set the foundation for us to understand what people are saying about the product, what are the problems they're dealing with. And that was the indicator for us to know, okay, these are the challenges people are facing. They're having biotin gummies. It's helping with their hair maybe, but then mostly it is contributing to improve, like they're suffering with hair, like when they're having showers, their hair is falling, they're getting dry scalp. And that sort of gave us an idea about, shower heads and other products like caffeine shampoo and so on. So we did a lot of research. Initial days, I think Walid called every single customer. And that's how we sort of built our base, to understand what customers really want.
And to kind of drill down on what Better really is today, it's a direct-to-consumer brand. The intention is to think of us in a way that's Aiwa meets Midjourney. And we say this because we use AI in the back end to identify which products are trending in other parts of the world and how can we adapt them to our region. What are negative reviews on Amazon of these products abroad? How can I switch them up, tweak them to make them fit our region? And it's not that we're building in all aspects. We're still stuck on wellness. The focus for Better is to find ritualistic direct-to-consumer products that we love, we test out, and do them in a way that's like unboxing an iPhone. So if you look at our shower heads, we have aromatherapy shower heads that when you're unboxing, you're literally unboxing an iPhone. And it has a smell, you plug it in, there's rose, lemon, lavender, and we're coming up with cedarwood and oud very soon. One of the biggest reasons we pivoted away from men, and I'm sorry for the very long answer to your question as to what Better is, is even when we were targeting men, 60% of our users were women. That was driving us up the wall. Like Hassan and I were calling them all the time, like, why are you buying this? You know? And then we realized that the market here is heavily driven when it comes to ritualistic self-care stuff by moms. So that kind of became our bigger target audience than what men was. So Better moved from being a from being a telehealth brand for men, like Hims in the US, towards being a self-care direct-to-consumer brand powered by AI.
But why wellness?
Well, we look at ourselves, right? I'm not going to speak on behalf of Haas, but I wouldn't like to actually. I unfortunately lead a pretty stressful lifestyle.
Entrepreneur, no?
You know, I got married while I was shutting down my previous company, and that was an extremely hectic thing to kind of go through. And I realized the reason we started Hims, Better, which was a copy or kind of influenced by Hims at the beginning, was to focus on our wellness as men, and from there came about the idea of ritualistic self-care, wellness that is for your hair, for your body, for your soul, and spend more time taking care of yourself. The ritual element came from that. So shower heads, you can take a shower for 3 minutes. You can buy a filtered shower head anywhere. That's the fact that we wanted to spend more time taking care of ourselves. That kind of really made a difference.
Yeah, I think for me also it was the same, right? The moment Walid said, you know, wellness for men, I was on board because I was in a very similar space. Especially when you're handling growth and marketing, the typical question when you're working in any entities, where are the sales? What are the numbers like? And there's a lot of stress around that. And, you know, when he said that, I immediately resonated and I was on board to be about it better.
You used to work with steak before. What was the learnings that you brought to Better?
There was a lot of learnings, to be honest. I think steak to me was a crash course on efficiency. I would say that they have some of the best product guys that are out there. I learned a lot from the team. And one of the things that I would say I use the most internally between us is our system of prioritizing what to do and what not to do, like choosing the lowest hanging fruits and going after that. I think that has helped us, you know, build Better very efficiently and quickly. And I think that's my biggest learning from steak predominantly over there.
And how do you prioritize? Is it impact effort or return on investment?
So impact effort is basically the core concept for us, right? So literally whenever we think about an idea, we have a framework now, which is what is our hypothesis, what are we going to affect, and what is the impact that it's going to generate. And based on that, we have a discussion and then prioritize our cycles of what we're going to do for the week. And that's basically how we run every week right now. We're very disciplined like that. And I feel like that was the learning that I got from steak that, you know, I was able to share with Walid. And Walid generally has that framework. He's very organized with everything. I mean, he's like, we have a Google Drive that is like flawless. I think they should sell that system to somebody.
Oh, wow.
And I think that was the element that I brought in, I think, and I used the most from steak.
And I love that, which was kind of challenging the... when we were building things in Hella, we did a lot of things were done diligently, but they were done diligently with the mindset of 2021, kind of build as fast as you can, pay for the customer, they'll renew the next year when it comes to insurance. But now the fundraising that we've done is much less. And the runway that you have is a bit shorter. There's only so many pivots you could do before you have to hit product market fit with something. So Has and I have no choice but to be extremely diligent and disciplined. And we had to trim the fat on anything that we do that is not exactly purely relevant to what we're doing. And keep in mind, when you pivoted at the beginning, now there's no core thesis anymore with the new pivot. And that leads to a bit of chaos at the start, which is, what are we building really?
Walid, your previous startup was Hala, and there's a startup that you started and you sold within 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
What are the learnings that you learned that you brought to Better as well?
I think some of the learnings I have go extremely against the ethos of a lot of what VCs and founders believe here. People are very married to their ideas very often and from a very early stage. Hassan, I don't really follow that in the sense that Call Me was a thing I was doing while I had a full-time job, working with the VC for a very brief amount of time after shutting down Hella. And it was in a way to prove to my wife that I still have it. I can still build something, right? And I built with a friend using Next.js. In 3 weeks, we built a very basic rudimentary copy of intro.co, which is it allows you to kind of contact CEOs and then they get paid. I used my network. I leveraged it very quickly to have a lot of the CEOs on board in kind of a quick blast. And then I started pitching it to B2B entities to see if they would use it as B2B SaaS, kind of have it on their mentorship as a platform. One of them was Brink, which happened to be building it at the same time. And the guys said, can we rent it from you as a B2B SaaS? And I said, do you guys want to buy it? I'm like, yeah. And to me, if I think about it realistically, it would have cost them more to build it with an agency in Southeast Asia, or I think they were talking to someone in Ukraine. Whereas with me, it was just ready. It comes with the mentors. I wasn't married to the idea of Call Me, right? And this is the same thing, perhaps with Better. The only difference is we really did like the idea of self-care for men. If it wasn't for regulatory complications, we would have continued with it. But that doesn't stop us. Okay, we raised, we pivoted, and then we built something that we now still do love. But I think people get very married too fast to an idea, and it potentially burns to the ground before they actually find if it's product market fit or not.
Yeah, I think we're not egoistic in that sense. You know, when an idea is there, we just okay to agree that sometimes things are not exactly how they're how we plan it to be, and we're okay to make those switches. You know, so I mean, I enjoyed that a lot with working with Walid, because you know, we could always contest certain things and be like, hey, listen, I don't know if this is the right approach towards this. We test out stuff quickly. We're okay to be wrong about things and then quickly switch to the right solution. And I think that's important when you're working with a small team, you know, to be able to manage those kind of things.
But you said that sometimes you guys go against the common wisdom of VCs. Like what exactly?
So, for example, perhaps not as much as VCs, it is the idea of the visionary founder. You see a founder who's visionary, who's laser focused on just one thing. He quit his job because he wants to do X or Y or Z. And look, that's amazing. I mean, again, with Better, the idea at the beginning was to help men with extremely sensitive issues about intimacy. Nobody's talking about that here, right? Or hair loss or things that affect the man's ego. And that was something we were deeply passionate about. It's okay to be story driven. It's okay to have a brand identity that resonates with your customer base. But if you can't do it, it's very okay to pivot very fast. You can always rebuild yourself. You can always rebuild the brand identity. You can always build the story that you have. That's kind of what I'm saying when it comes to me and Hans, is we've switched genders, not ourselves, obviously the company, the customer base. Now it's predominantly female, the target audience, switched from absolute necessity when it comes to sexual wellness and hair loss and medication towards a more retail therapy approach of self-care. And the story is still there. The brand identity is still there. The coloring is black and white for us, so that kind of worked in our favor. But yeah, the unconventional wisdom that we have, I suppose, is it is okay to change your mind very early on, or even frequently at the beginning, until you find product market fit, and only then do you throw yourself all out.
Yeah. So what do you guys currently sell on Better, and what was the first product that went viral?
So we sell a line of products right now, mainly focused on hair, and then we've now introduced the aromatherapy shower heads, and that's blown up. That's the one that's performing the most for us, and
the shower heads.
The shower heads. It contributes to most of the revenue that we're generating. But in terms of line of products, we have biotin supplements. This is biotin gummies that are sugar free, and then we've got caffeine shampoo, and we've got a rosemary oil that we're selling. We've also got a scalp massager, which is a good addition to the whole routine. But that's also one of the products that we're offering. So that's a whole range of products. But predominantly, what we are seeing customers enjoying the most is the aromatherapy shower heads. And this is enjoyed both by men and women. But what we found is generally the female audience is acquiring the product more than anyone else. And that's why, you know, it was a challenge for us to like switch from a male-centric comms to a more gender-neutral with our website, the look and feel, and how we position our content, and the UGCs we were picking up. And now, if you've ever seen any of our ads, you'll see that we entertain both genders, and we have content that's sort of generic. But to answer the question, it's aromatherapy shower heads that's blowing up for us.
By the way, the shower heads are really good.
Have you tried them?
My lady friend, she bought one. She loved it so much, and now she's going to India. She bought one for her mother as well.
No way.
Lavender is really good.
Nice. Yeah, everybody's like that.
Lavender, the one is really
We're
good.
sold out on lavender. So,
Really?
So that's actually one of the challenges we're facing, which is, this is our first foray into e-commerce. Before this, it was fintech. With insurance, I don't run out of policies. We can keep selling insurance policies, right? I'm not restocking on policies. Whereas here, at the beginning, you want to test out a product, and we were leverage as much as you leverage AI. There's still an opportunity for a product to kind of blow up and sell way more than what you have, and that's kind of what we face. For example, shower heads. I think they account for like 3/4 of our revenue, and in 6 months, last month we made 50K USD in revenue. The month before that was 37. The month before that was just 10K. So it just kind of jumped right there. We're about to go live in Saudi. The intention here is to find a hero product per category and then surround it by other products. So like, for example, our average order value ballooned from 2 months ago to now. This was by adding a very simple thing that you see in most other e-commerce websites have it as well, which is frequently bought with. But what we focused on is we keep A/B testing what you frequently buy with, right? So frequently bought with shower heads, we said, what if we add 6 months of filters or 6 filters at a time? Suddenly your average order value goes from $60 to 110, 120. And that makes a huge difference where you're making money on your very first purchase and your CAC drops significantly once product market fit is there. We identified that no matter how many A/B tests we did, product market fit was always king. It required very little A/B testing once people like the product.
No, so frequently bought was one of the features that contributed a lot of value to us when it comes to AOV. But one more thing that we did which was interesting, was bundles. So we bundled up a bunch of products just for the sake of convenience, because what we realized is people chose to buy multiple products and added it to cart. And then we would see that there would be an increase in drop-offs in those cases. So what if we bundle those products and put them together instead of them adding them one by one? And that also increased our basket size and the ticket sizes of transactions. So those kind of things are the kind of hacks that we kept trying out and trying to figure out which ones work, which ones don't, and then kept running with.
But how you guys choose a hero product?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So what we have done, and that's where the AI component comes into play, right? We did Walid did predominantly most of the research on what products to pick, how to go about it. But we also leveraged AI to figure out and do some of the secondary research, what the market is saying about it, what are the trends, what is sentiment analysis over certain products. And that gave us an indication of what are the products that are sort of trending in our category, which is bath or hair or whatever that is. And we had customer data, which is our primary source of info. So Walid would talk to every single customer initial days and find out exactly what their pain points are. He would go into depths of conversation. And I'll give you an example. There was one case where we saw a bunch of customers talking about Monjaro. They're consuming Monjaro and they're taking a biotin gummies. Is that okay for them to use our biotin gummies while they're consuming Monjaro? And we discussed this. Walid's like, man, let's just spin this into an ad. And we ran an ad and that outperformed any of our other ads for that specific product.
And being clear, I'm not a doctor. So what we were saying is in the ad, we're basically saying, I'm taking Monjaro. I'm worried about vitamins or supplements that contain a lot of sugar because it might affect me. And luckily ours has, gluten-free, sugar-free, blah, blah, blah. And the target audience was from a very specific nationality that was asking this question all the time. So what we decided was, can we have someone from this nationality speak in exactly, not just the tone of voice, but the exact mannerisms that is like her sending a video to her friend. And it was such low production quality. You have no idea, relative to ads that we were doing that were very high production quality. In a matter of a few days, it was 6x ROAS during the learning period. So it blew up.
Yeah, that's weighted ROAS we're talking about, right? So when we talk about ROAS for us, the metric is weighted, which means we include everything that's there in marketing. It's not only the performance spends, which means that the performance spend is giving us like 10, 11 ROAS even for certain ad campaigns. So we did super well. So how did we figure out the hero product? So idea was that we talk to our customers, right? We talk to them, understand the pain points, figure out the problem, and try to solve that, and solve that with the product that we can source, and that's how we sort of solve that problem with showerheads.
Yeah, and tangentially next to that, Hassan had developed this. Well, I say develop, but it's a very rudimentary graph. Basically, everybody, again, VCs focus heavily on what's the market size of something. I look at companies again like Eyewear, and I think Eyewear, what was really the market size for that relative to other retail markets that could have been much bigger? But Eyewear might be IPOing soon, given lenses and medical lenses as well as just colored lenses, which have insane margins, right? Instead of focusing on what's the market size for something, we look at what's the novelty of something and can it craft its own market size. For example, the water quality in some parts of the world could be very tough, and people use filters and filtered shower heads. Almost everybody I know uses this brand or that brand. We thought, what if I can make it smell good? And literally, that's the novelty. So right now we're working on, for example, we're about to kick off with silk pillowcases, which relate to, again, the sleep category for us. It's bed and bath, right? And we're reading into copper infused silk and the benefits behind that and how it's popped up on TikTok in the US. So we could do something very similar here. Novelty plays a much bigger role for us than market size, in our opinion. Novelty, and not something that trends for a few days and stops, but novelty that requires you to be sticky. You need to buy filters from us again. You can't buy them from anybody else. And you need to buy our aroma rings, and we're going to keep dropping new scents. So you don't want to miss out on the new scent that comes out.
But you said something very interesting. So usually when we're creating products, we always say that we have to go interview customers. So you interview customers and they tell you their pain points, and then you use your creativity and you build a good product. But you guys touch on something very interesting, that you guys using those interviews for marketing as well. So basically they are telling you their pain points in their own words, and they're using their own words to create ads to target more people like them.
100%.
That's amazing.
So if I may, one of the examples we had was people asking about, can I buy the refills alone? And this is just a question. Or how do I switch it on? We realized that our ads don't exactly, in the ad, convey that you can switch on mist mode and switch on kind of normal mode. Immediately, we crafted an ad with the same individual we were working with before. Just replace one part with another part and go ahead from there. But there's such a deep focus on Monjaro being one example, but there's so many we can think of where we switch up ads and keep iterating ads on. We get customer feedback. For us, product, in our opinion, again, it's a team of 2 people, but product in general is CX as well. CX played a huge role.
Yeah, so for us, I think one of the things is that we initially were thinking about things from a gut feeling perspective, that I feel that this might work. And we were completely proven wrong after we got data from CX, applied that into our ads and saw how that performed versus the ads that we spent so much time ideating and, spinning up. So I think CX was our main channel to improve and find out our hero products.
In fact, I think and this is a message to any bank here in the region, if they just sit down with their CX team for half an hour, they'll find out that I don't care about winning a ticket to somewhere or whatever, but I do care about foreign exchange rates, or I do care about being able to send money after hours. Like, these are much bigger value propositions. And entities that I think kill when they do with this are doing a great job. Tabby, I think, is very CX driven.
Yeah.
Kareem is very CX driven. I think
even VO, I would say, is
big time.
CX driven.
Yeah, big time. So the only differentiator we have between us and them is we have a physical product, which means I don't get to iterate as fast as they do. We have already iterated on Buy It in twice, with flavor, with stickiness. People are saying it's too sticky. I like it, but it's too sticky. And we've also iterated on shower heads, how tight you can close it. So it sounds silly at the beginning, but because I speak with, on average, like, again, now we have someone helping us speak with customers because I just can't anymore at a certain point. But because you talk to all of them, and when a certain demographic has the same problem over and over and over, you just fix for that. It blows their mind when they buy it again.
How many customers you guys regularly speak with, especially in the early days? Is it one customer a week, one customer every 2 weeks?
No. It's in the first 500 customers, I spoke to every single one of them.
Every single one.
Yeah, and
Across how much time?
Every day.
Every day.
Literally every day, an order would come in, and 5 minutes later, Walid's on a call with them saying, "Hey, what's up? You bought our product. why did you choose us?
And they would freak out. Like someone's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm the owner of the company."
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, what? So and then some of them become just loyal advocates, like because we're building in public as well, and we had a wait list at the beginning, and people just wanted to experiment. What are these guys building? Like, what biotin? To be frank, we know that biotin is a red ocean. We're not stupid. We know that everybody and their aunt sells biotin on Amazon. So how can we differentiate ourselves? We thought, okay, let's individually wrap our biotin gummies so that they don't get mushy when you get delivered in the heat, right? And a lot of people from, again, certain demographics attributed that to be more clean. Now, in reality, wrapping a gummy in foil does not make it more clean. But it doesn't matter. It's the perception of the customer that matters heavily to me. And I want to really adhere to the perception of the customer, make them feel better. So make them feel
That's
better,
literally
right?
what we call ourselves.
Yeah.
So I receive a lot of people that asking me, how can we build product intuition? I always tell them, hey, speak to customers. But basically, you guys spoke to the first 500 customers.
And today, one of our rules is the only reason or the main reason we hired someone else, a third person, to help us is because we want to still talk to most of our customers. So right now, because we've ballooned to a bit over 2,000 customers in the past 6 months, she can't call every single one of them, but we still speak with most of them still. We also have heavy lifecycle marketing initiatives that has kind of controls. And
Yeah, so apart from acquiring customers, running ads is not sustainable, and we don't want to make that the addiction where we keep spending on ads to acquire customers. So we spend some time figuring out lifecycle marketing. How do we increase LTV? Get that customer to come back to us multiple times. And what we found out is tried out a bunch of things. We got so many companies reaching out to us and saying, "Hey, listen, email marketing is a thing. You should try it." And we realized that for our segment of customers, email may not be the solution. And what's really worked for them was WhatsApp. WhatsApp really works.
like, what's the open rate?
Open rate was 90% plus easily, without a shout of a doubt. WhatsApp works super well, and I mean, even conversion rates from WhatsApp was phenomenal. So we would send a WhatsApp and we'd see a huge spike in sales immediately, and compared to email. So we would set different cadences just to understand and measure how the performance is. And email wouldn't make much of a difference, but predominantly WhatsApp killed it for us.
So channel of distribution, WhatsApp is one of them. So let's say if you want to make campaign and introduce a new product, WhatsApp is like the ideal
100%.
Yeah, and I think it's also not getting lost with WhatsApp, because now there are a lot of companies that's using WhatsApp aggressively, and you see more and more coming up, as we go. But I think it's about keeping the messaging brief enough, short and precise.
Exactly.
And talking about the real pain points that they're facing, which again comes down to the CX, right? We talk to the customers, identify the problem, based on that we create our segments and send out messaging.
Yeah.
And that's important. Otherwise, your message gets lost in the hundreds of messages that get sent out to customers.
If you chat GPT a message, you think it reads really good, but it has nothing to do with what the customer's concern is, right? For like customers are asking about eczema, they were asking about things that relate to kind of body issues that they may face from shower water. And another thing we did was we didn't lie to them. So someone would say, can biotin make me regrow hair? We're like, no. If you have if you have androgenic alopecia and you have serious baldness issues, you need to consult a dermatologist. And they went and bought a head anyway. The thing is here is transparency with customers. One other thing we had from a CX perspective was our response rate is within 3 minutes, max, to any query that you have. And typically we try to
with a 3-people team.
2 people until recently. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So and I can even show you I'll show you after the podcast. And wallah, I'll show you some of the content. Like, for example, someone says, "Hey, your shower head doesn't work." And I go with him, I go to my toilet, I switch on, like to my bathroom, I switch on a camera, I take pictures of all how he should do it exactly. It's like, okay, it smells awesome. But then what does that mean? That means the instructions aren't clear. So how can I change the instructions? And kind of that's how we keep iterating as fast as we can.
Any amount of feedback, or whoever gives us feedback, is taken seriously internally. We don't discard any feedback. Of course, we prioritize the common themes, but then any feedbacks, it's taken in. So we've got feedback like, your shower head is lighter, and we realize that that's an important message that we can use for ads. It's a benefit. And then we position that into our comms, and help people know that this is lighter than most other shower heads that you'll get in the market. And this helps them make that decision better. So that's why feedback is important.
And the context on why does lighter matter, people assume if it's heavier, it's better quality. But the context is here, without mentioning any competitor brands, is there's a certain brand with people who purchase shower heads often for some reason. It's heavy, it keeps falling, it keeps cracking.
That's true.
We figured, whoa, lighter than the competition. And if you show this to any marketing person who doesn't have context, he'll go like, that's such a stupid thing to say. Who cares if it's lighter than the competition? Customers do. And we spoke to them, and it turns out that they do.
Man, there's again, I'm very impressed the level of knowledge that the customers, because for example, this pain point, yes, I have it sometimes, but it's too heavy, then it falls all the time, and it's very painful. But for such business, product is very important. You guys master product, but most important thing is channel distribution. WhatsApp is one of them. What are the channel distribution that you guys used, and what are the channel distribution that you guys worked for you guys?
So predominantly right now, because we're a new brand, we're still, working out our identity. Performance marketing has been our main channel to acquire customers and get them on board.
It's when you say performance marketing, Google ads, Instagram ads. What do you mean exactly?
Yeah. So good question. I think there are a bunch of ad platforms that work based on the business type. But for us, Meta has been performing super well because lifestyle content performs well on Instagram. Everybody's on Instagram for that reason. And Snapchat's done super well.
Yes, it's surprisingly well.
Yeah.
In the UAE?
In UAE.
Same question we had. Yeah.
So Walid, I am a deep performance guy. I've tried a bunch of channels on different platforms, and we had influencers who worked with us who brought massive sales for us from Snapchat, and Walid was like, we need to be trying ads on Snapchat. I was like, I don't know. We are limited on budget. Should we be trying that? And we tried it recently after acquiring some budget, and man, we were mind blown with the ROAS we're getting. And
Even for products that we thought didn't sell.
It's insane, the numbers that we're seeing. So I think for anybody who's listening, who's performance marketing centric, do not discount channels without testing them. That's 100% thing that they should be trying. Do not discount any channel, because Snapchat was something that I thought I didn't have high hopes. And
I thought people stopped using it in university.
Yeah.
I assume Snapchat is popular in Saudi. I didn't know it's that popular here in the UAE.
It is.
It's popular with the same demographic. So a lot of Emiratis use Snapchat, right? And it's a very trust-driven market. When you have Emirati influencers talking about your product, suddenly you get a spike in performance marketing, but then there's a tail that comes out of it, which is a word-of-mouth spike. And I really appreciate that market because of how trust-based it is. For example, if you compare it to potentially other demographics, certain demographics would do intense research on the topic before making up their mind, and your ad helped them decide that they need a new shower head, but not necessarily that they want yours. Those are things that we're very mindful of, is how do we consistently change the copy of the ad so that it fits our demographic, but also consistently change the product. So now we're secretly in our third iteration of the shower heads, which came out 2 months ago. We're consistently talking to our manufacturers and changing it. The only thing that I deeply like in what we're doing, or not the only thing, the main thing, is the fact that it's a physical thing. This wasn't the case before. I think VCs shy away a lot from consumer retail products or startups that revolve around that. I think it's a shame, because if I look at all of the biggest companies in the region, they're predominantly consumer based, right? I'm sure deep tech and AI is about to blow up, but they made up 1.4% of all investments in the region last year, AI. Again, I think it's going to blow up, but the space that we're in involves a bit of that and predominantly revolves around physical products. And it's so nice seeing someone react positively or negatively to it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Meta, Snapchat, and influencer marketing.
Yeah. So so let me drill you down through our sort of framework of how we think of things, right? So for us, it's about having a clear definition of what our audience is, and initially it was very blur. We didn't know exactly what that looked like, but we ran different ad tests, right? So for us, it was 2 types of customers that we'd look at: low CAC customers and then high LTV customers, right? So based on those 2 customers, we have separate channels that's doing different things for us. We have Meta that was running ads, and Snapchat on performance. We tried Google. It was not as competitive for us, at least at the stage we're at, but I think maybe down the line we'll look at it. And then on the other side, we were looking at influencer marketing and lifecycle marketing, which includes WhatsApp and Klaviyo, whatever email tool that you're using. Influencer marketing always contributed to a spike in sales, but the thing is, it's a hit and miss with influencer marketing, right? It's about being able to choose the right influencers from the right category who have the right audiences that align with your blurry image of what your audience is, and based on the activities that you do in this bottom layer is what contributes to improving the definition of your audience. And I think we are at a point where our definition is getting more and more clearer every day, and we're starting to know exactly who our customers are, and that's helping us understand which regions we want to expand to also. So for us, that's our layer. The bottom layer of distribution has been predominantly performance marketing on Snapchat and Meta. And then on the other side, it's influencer marketing and WhatsApp.
I mean, on the blurry element that Has mentioned, we thought that our target audience in month 0 was the busy DIFC guy who plays paddle and does ice bath, which is why we had the ice bath podcast, right? And we realized it's the self-care girly, it's the
okay.
Yeah, or it's a self-care dude. But in general, it's the people who want to take care of themselves, ritualistically tired after a long day, want to smell something nice. The ritual of rosemary, the fact that you want to have a silk pillowcase, all of these things reflect someone who just wants to take care of themselves. So we're doubling, tripling down on that. These small rituals that make a big difference.
That's very interesting. Because when we build a company, we think that we are the target customers. And the target customer is very different. The reason why I'm saying this, because I can see the blue blocker glasses, the Whoop on your wrist. So I'm assuming you're a biohacker guy. The ice bath.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying every single product to see how we can improve ours. So that's what I'm doing right now.
But you guys hit 50K within 6 months, almost 2,000 customers. That's freaking insane. What are the early traction of this? What are the signs of this early traction?
I'll be very transparent about a few things that were amiss and we were really worried about. Like at the beginning, we couldn't get a lot of our products approved because it just took time to get approved from the Dubai municipality. And while you're just a single SKU product that's just biotin gummies, and you're thinking, wait, I fundraised 530K and I'm just selling biotin gummies. And that's deeply frustrating at the beginning. But as and when you add more SKUs and you begin mixing up these SKUs and you begin to see these bumps, and then the blurry target audience becomes less and less and less blurry, then suddenly you have a clear understanding of what you want to do. So Hassan and I now look at bath and bed and body and self-care. This is exactly what we want to do. And only then did we begin to see the surge happen in revenue. People who bought the shower heads through Lifecycle marketing and now trying the products that they wouldn't have been interested in. But they like the showers, like this is good quality. So they go for the other stuff, like the caffeine shampoo. And if you think about it, if you're showering, you need shampoo. So kind of that's the whole idea there. And it was a sudden jump. And then another sudden jump happened when we were beginning to use the right influencers. Like Has said, some of them were so expensive and would give you 0.2 ROAS, which is very depressing for an early stage startup with a very limited amount of cash. Then you have one person, I'm not going to mention their name, our secret weapon, but an individual who you paid 5K AED and gave you 90K AED in sales.
Oh, wow.
In 2 days. So it was just, what is going on? And we're trying now, okay, we see who are people like her? Who are people like her that we could talk to and double down on the story and the narrative? And not like her so much that it's the exact same target audience, because then they've already seen it, they've already potentially bought it. And how big is that pool of people? And what else can you give them?
So I thought that influencer marketing, you go and hire the biggest person, no, you should look at their audience, if it fits with your message and how engaged is their audience. How do you pick the right influencer for you?
That's challenging. I like for me, I think that there's so much ambiguity around that, right? Yeah. Because insights are based on the kind of content that they're putting out for that day, and you see views go up, but then some other content is not performing so well. It's hard to really identify what's really going on. But with influencers, I think the high level thing that you need to look at is the kind of audience that they have, where they're resonating right now, where are they residing? So if they're in UAE, then that's important. And the language they speak. For us, we found that language plays a massive role in comms, especially with influencers, right? So English-speaking influencers versus Arabic-speaking, which one performs better? That was also important, and language was a massive thing for us when we went with influencers. So, but it's challenging, and for us, we've had experiences where we worked with an influencer, we had a great month. The next month, we tried 2 influencers or 3 influencers, and all of them bombed. We didn't get any results from it. Yeah. So then we realized that this is not something that we can roll dice on. We have to be strategic about this. Make reasonable bets and look at the data to understand audience and understand audience overlap. I'll give you an example. We worked with an influencer on the previous month. It performed super well. The next month, we worked with a similar influencer, was sort of a look-alike of that influencer, and we got no results. The reason is that the audience was having a massive overlap. They were more or less the same people.
They've seen it.
They've seen
How
that
did you know
content.
that?
So we looked at the kind of people that were we don't know specific, we couldn't pinpoint specific people, but from an audience type, we understood the traffic that was coming from that segment. And that gave us an indication that it seems like that they're more or less the same people. Because we saw, for example, we saw a lot of traffic coming in from Elaine for the previous one, the same amount of traffic is coming this one, but no conversions. So it gave us an idea that this seems like this is not converting as much because of the audience overlap.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to be careful to segment these things properly and try out different segments all the time with influencers.
I think another rookie mistake that a lot of performance marketers do is, and this opened our eyes big time, is Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Great Emirates, but the UAE has several other Emirates. And we've identified that not only is CAC much lower in some of these other Emirates, including remote areas, which we're lucky to have a great partner with us delivering our stuff, because most delivery companies don't deliver to remote areas. Remote areas purchase 4 or 5 times the AOV that someone else does because he doesn't buy it as often. He typically wouldn't deliver there, right? So you have someone in somewhere way behind Fujairah and he gets your ad and he sees it and he's like, you know what? My 5-bedroom villa could use 5 shower heads. And then he tells his friends and his family, and suddenly you get a pocket in a small area behind Fujairah buying a bunch of shower
I
heads.
think we've serviced most of the bathrooms in Kalba right now. I think so.
You just destroyed all my assumptions. I was assuming that UAE 90% expats. I'm assuming that ads in English performs the best. But you're telling me
Our worst performing ads are English.
really? Oh God!
But I think this is highly subjective to a business, right? It's not specific because at Stake or other past ventures, English ads perform super well, right? And it depended on the messaging and so many other things. But for us, because we raised our initial round of capital, we were very careful about the places we want to deploy our money with. And that's why the moment we saw an opportunity, we took that and then we were like, okay, let's get to a point where we're a little more comfortable to test out English. And we then would revert back to it. So right now we're still riding the wave of other languages and other locations until we come to a point where we're comfortable to go back to English.
Another 2 things to be mindful of is your competition isn't pitching to Arab audiences, and they exist. Okay, people who speak Arabic exist in the Middle East, But also, for us to expand to KSA, we've got now a few regulation hurdles done with, and we're about to launch in KSA, I think, in a couple of weeks. Now we have a lookalike audience, which is not exactly the same, but very close. Arabic speakers who understand our content is in Arabic. Has doesn't speak Arabic, but our website is all Arabic. He's coded it in Arabic. For Arabic customer support, we're ready for any question that a lookalike audience from KSA might have if they're similar to Emiratis.
Yeah, sorry, just to add to that, I think Arabic is definitely one layer that we've taken advantage of, but also I think understanding culture deeply is one big thing. And these are learnings that I found out very recently from Walid, when he's talking about dialects, how different dialects react to that kind of conversation or that kind of comms is important. How do you message things? What are things that resonate with a person who's sitting in a lane? Those are the nuances that we need to look at to run ads in those areas. And I think that's what we've been finding some success in.
It's one of those things where you can't fake it till you make it. And I specifically mean, I'm glad that there's a recent law that came out that prevents non-Emiratis from doing advertisements in Emirat, because it's you shouldn't, right? And we're lucky that our UGC creators are Emirati. And they even comment on what we suggest. They go like, no, I'm not going to say that, or nobody would resonate with that. When your target audience is also the UGC person you're working with, then they can really speak to the people they're pitching to as a recommendation. I'm literally recommending this to my sister. I'm recommending this to my friend. I think that it feels weird when you have someone pretending to be Emirati or pretending to be Jordanian or pretending to be British or whatever, pitching something in a manner that they typically wouldn't. It really removes trust. And this is a demographic that's purely driven by trust.
Man, this is very interesting because when we have like companies from the US or Europe, they want to do localization. Well, they do localization, they change it to Arabic, left to right, and that's it. But you guys went 10 steps further, which even you're using localization for the dialects of the Northern Emirates.
Yeah, on a per Emirate basis. Yeah.
And what makes Align, for example, different than Agile?
I can tell you what makes what's it called? Up north, there's a big tribe called the Shihya and Shihya, and we cater towards them with influencers from that area. He
Really?
pitches to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, that's amazing.
We're very mindful. People tell you, man, the market size is very tiny. No, it's not. Okay, the purchase power is one of the highest in the region, or potentially in the world, and the repeat purchase rate is very high. We don't want to dominate the world. Our brand is going to be perfect for KSA. It's going to be perfect for the UAE. We want to have physical outlets eventually. And it goes again against the VC narrative of online, AI, blah, blah, blah. No, Hass and I have a saying that we keep laughing about is everything hardcore that we've learned in Better, we did not learn from gurus. We learned it from guys in Karama with a general trading license that understands credit terms, that understands financing, that understands all of these very basic business acumen terms, you know?
You guys often talk about building in public. What does that actually look like day to day, and how has it helped you guys so far?
Yeah, so I'll answer a bit at the beginning of that. Is Hass and I had a wait list at the very beginning before we even launched any products, and our first day of sales was half of the first month because it was such a large pool of people buying from it, and it was organic via LinkedIn. Now, you can't keep milking that channel, but the intention for us really wasn't to milk the channel as much as in Call Me, I was building it in public for the joy of building it in public. I feel as a response to what happened in Hella for me. I can still do it. I can still build something. And Hass has been a machine kind of directing me and guiding me in what we should be talking about next in our videos. And really, if you look at the videos, it's just like, hey guys, we got approved from the municipality to be able to sell this product. Here's what it looks like. Here, I'm at the warehouse doing this. And it's just very honest, genuine content. We think that building in public is not a chance for you to congratulate yourself. It's a chance for you to genuinely show people what you're building and show the joy of building. So I might not be very passionate about buy it and gummies, but I'm deeply passionate about building something. And Hass is exactly the same, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I'm less of the guy who's on the social platforms being very active, and I'm generally behind Walid and cheering him on social media platforms. But I think that is something that that's in the core of our business, is we want to keep contributing and showing what we really are building, even on a minute level. And I think that these discussions that we're having right now, at some point we would want to do more of these, and share this with the audiences to let them know that these are the things that we're building and how we achieve success. I see US, a lot of these brands do this super well, and there's so much value from that.
Yeah, I think, and also celebrating mistakes. Like, we found out that we used a wrong delivery partner and they messed up our entire logistics. We found out that blah, blah, blah. And we like to celebrate our partners. I just posted about QuickUp a couple of days ago. I love working with them. They're an amazing delivery company. The same applies with our accountants. I mean, people don't typically celebrate their accountants on LinkedIn, but we do, because we genuinely like working with these people.
No, and I think that creates a two-way comm with anybody, right? And anybody is open to just share any sort of feedback with us. And I think we've made it clear that we enjoy that. We really enjoy any sort of feedback, no matter if they're a customer or not. And I think this creates that channel for us to have two-way comms. If somebody's seeing us build something and then they have some comment about if we're doing this right or wrong, we're open to listening to that.
It's the most affordable way to do market research. It's just being quiet and listening to someone. Talk about your product.
So acquisition costs, especially in this region, is very expensive, and you guys do a lot of performance marketing. But how could you guys keep CAC low sometimes as $27?
Yeah, that's interesting. So again, this drills down to the same thing, which is figuring out your audience early, building more definition to that blurry audience view that you have, and then like really pinpointing a message, right? So for us, we were able to pinpoint our customers. So how does the algorithm work, right? It tries to find people that are similar to your previous customers. And because we are building messages that resonate with our previous customers, it's able to find those audiences. So typically when somebody runs an ad and they find some success, they think that ad works and they try to replicate that, but it's not about that. You need to figure out how you can sort of create more versions of that and test more and then get more results. And I think that's what we do well, which is we continuously experiment, and then we are able to maintain that CAC on the levels that we have right now.
Another benefit right next to that is have a product that has novelty, because that top of the funnel, that first hook, when someone says, our ad that's launching right now is an Emirati UGC person saying, I like the way that my spa smells, now I have a spa at home. That hook, and you go like, wait, what is she talking about? And then you see that there's a aromatherapy in a shower. I've never heard of it. So there's those things that has the firepower to really do a good performance marketing campaign based on a product that's actually interesting to consider.
You guys raised 550K just 1 month after launch?
Yeah, so
What was your pitch, and how did you guys gain the trust of the VCs?
So I'm going to be mindful that most of our cap table is angels, and most of them are founders, other founders. We were blessed, Hass and I, to know a lot of founders from previous ventures we had. Hass and I worked together in Hella Insurance. He was heading growth there as well.
Yeah.
And two of the VCs that I worked with before are the ones that invested with us now. I think at very early stages, VCs believe in founders more than they believe in an idea. Of course, the idea matters, but they invested in us as founders, and they invested in the HIMSS model of men's telehealth. And they weren't disappointed when we pivoted. They were like, okay, wow, these guys are, what do you mean you made $50,000 last month? But I think that played out really well. And now we're doubling down on direct to consumer.
So you guys, we were a team of 2 people, now we're 3 people. How can you guys manage it with like multiple SKUs, and how do you structure the entire ops without burning out? How you guys do fulfillment? Do you guys?
Oh no, we burn out. Let me make it clear. So Hass and I are very, very, very diligent on processes. Even as a very small team, we have a company wiki already. And I think, again, some people might think of
company wiki with 3 people.
But there's a reason, because when the third person joined, I said, I'm going to help you with everything you need, but I just need you to spend 3 hours reading everything. And she read everything to the dot on the SKU level, the GTIN code of it, the HS code.
Man, respect to you. That's a lot.
I'll show it to you right after.
Man, I have 25 people in my company, and we still don't have a wiki, man.
I'll genuinely show it to you right after, and you'll see perhaps how useful that was. Hass has a very specific way that we groom
on weekly for tickets of what we're going to do for the week, or the initiatives we're going to go after.
It's a superpower that we're very few, because you have no choice. You've only raised 500K. You're 2 or 3 people now. You have no choice but to do the most important tickets. So changing the color of that button on the homepage where nobody is going, everybody's going to our product page, takes a backseat. There's been a typo on our homepage for the past 3 months, and we're aware of it. We're changing it, but who goes there other than VCs, you know? And it was a VC who brought it up, but it didn't affect our conversion rates.
So again, I had interviewed a few people where we're saying something similar, which is the homepage is not the most important thing now, because people just go exactly the ad or the product, don't really go to the homepage. But let me ask you this: what is your big 5-year plan vision for the next 5 years for Better?
I'll talk about it at a high level, and I'll let Hass kind of double down on what he sees, because we talk about this very, very often, him and I. Man, we really want to be a profitable company that builds things for people in a way that balances making a lot of money for our shareholders, but also building products that people really, really like. And that's what, it's a generic answer that anybody would give you, but I'm going to dive a bit deeper. We want to be very experiential in nature. So within the bath, the body, and the sleep space, how can we build novel products that genuinely change the way you sleep, the way you shower, and the way you treat yourself? We want to be, I hate using this term, phygital, okay? Which is physical and digital, right? I think it's a very boomer term, but whatever. And we wanna kick off in KSA and in the UAE and physically see shops that look like this podcast studio, right? Dim lit, apothecary vibe. You walk in, there's someone who helps you out with the scents that you need, and have that experience of people unboxing Better and feeling really, really good about that as a gift to themselves.
What is one product you guys wish you built?
For me, it is Whoop, man. I would have...
Auras for me.
No, but for me, I think this is a product that, for me, the business model is interesting more than anything else. The fact that they give you the product for free and charge you a subscription. Whereas I use both. I use an Apple Watch and a Whoop. And I'm okay to pay the subscription for Whoop. And they have more or less the same data. I mean, the system is much better on Whoop, but overall, I feel like the idea of how they ran their business which is subscription centric versus the product centric, is amazing. And I love that about this. And I don't know, at some point we should explore that and see subscription for bath.
What about you?
I think mine is a bit on the geeky side. I wish I was one of the early team members of Blizzard because I'm a big fan of what they've built.
Blizzard.
Yeah, so I've played World of Warcraft religiously for the longest time. Has knows that any time I don't spend on Better is time I'm spending developing my own video game on the side. I work on an open source engine called Godot. I really like world building and that's kind of what we're doing with Better. We're building a world of products. But world building is so big to me to the extent that even when it comes to like Dungeons and Dragons, that's the only kind of social activity I do. For me, had I been a part of the early stage team there, it would have been phenomenal. I read a book called Play Nice, and it's about the story of Blizzard and how it blew up. I didn't know that the founder is Egyptian. Surprised.
Whoop, founder is Egyptian.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
What are one mistakes that founders often make when chasing product market fit?
getting married to an idea. I think that is the biggest problem. And I think that we were agile like that. We were okay to change our original idea, iterate it 100 times even if we had to get to a point where we saw traction and then figure out more ways to scale that further. So I think that is one of the key things that I see most businesses struggle with, where they have an idea and they push so hard to try to make that vision come to life. And the reality is that that's where you don't get traction maybe.
So, Walid, if you were going to restart Better today, what would something that we would do differently?
I think the biggest thing that we really, Better is still very small. So Better almost started today, right? It's 6 months old only. But one of the things I would double down on is when looking for target audiences, don't assume that they are like me. Again, Hassan, the early version of the website was really built for the DIFC entrepreneur guy. He's not going to buy from us. He's not interested in our products. He's probably going to be only interested in products based in the US, something that is, deeply scientifically backed for years, and he likes to do his own research. Whereas we've identified that a lot of the people that are our target audience have absolutely nothing in common with us, and that's okay. And then you pivot the product to match what they like.
Not yet, at least. I think we'll find a way to get them with our comms. We'll figure it out and get them to buy our products eventually.
Yeah.
Walid, thank you so much for making the time for this episode. Where can our audience go and find more about you, about Better? Where can they find the products?
Yeah, so they can find us on our website. It's better.app, and I think both of us are on LinkedIn.
Very accessible on LinkedIn.
So you can reach out anytime.
And if they buy a product from us, they're going to expect a call from us very soon.
You guys are building in public where mostly on LinkedIn as well?
Mostly on LinkedIn, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to include everything in the show notes. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure is ours.